Logan Paul is suing Coffeezilla for doing all his reports on the crypto zoo ongoing incident with cryptocurrencies and games that were promised to be available and playable with these tokens, and the game isn't there, and what kind of refunds are being offered here. I'm not going to play you this video because it's Coffeezilla's channel there. You can see his channel if you want the full 20 minutes of it, but you can see right up there on the screen. Logan Paul is suing me for Crypto Zoo. Logan Paul is also getting sued by his prime supplier because breach of contract here. Prime is apparently not doing that well in sales, so they're not fulfilling the bottling order that they had agreed to. This bottler apparently did a lot of work on their own in order to get into this, and you could see the accused of promoting crypto scams made it into this Business Insider article as well. Demand for the once red hot drink craters and seems to owe at least $67.7 million. Refresco, the beverage bottling giant, basically considerable investment of time, including production line downtime, in order to give Prime Energy, it looks like, priority status at their bottling plant. And now Prime is just like, yeah, not ordering bottles of the beverage.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Breach of contract. There's a lot of money involved in this. So Logan Paul is suing. Logan Paul is getting sued. And he's also suing LA Knight for stealing his Prime Energy truck and then bashing in the driver's side window of it. I'm guessing this is a work. The other two seem to be shoots, though. Logan Paul suing, getting sued, and then a work suit.
Boy,
what do we make of Logan Paul and making everything into a lawsuit? And are you surprised with this last one that WWE is apparently doing a storyline lawsuit when lawsuits are kind of the thing that WWE and TKO wants to keep quiet?
Yes.
Cough, Vince McMahon, cough.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Don't mention lawsuits. John, what's going on?
Yeah, like, are they going to want to look up, like, if people start to Google LA Knight lawsuit or WWE lawsuit, they're going to start to find all the other lawsuits that are still pending against Vinnie Mac. So, yeah, this is pretty interesting. I sort of mentioned this before. Well, I had no idea who Logan Paul was before we started watching Smackdown. I had maybe like seen his name float around, but I didn't really follow anything with him.
Girl, same.
But I don't know of any. He seems like he's got a lot of baggage, and the baggage continues to kind of add up here. As far as the Coffeezilla thing, if he does have as much money as he says he has, or at least alludes to him having, I don't know how they can't just give the money back to the people that gave it to them unless it's not there and they don't have it. Like, it just seems like a strange. He's got so many other ventures. Wouldn't you just take the L, pay back the people, and then be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm done with it? What is this constant struggle?
Businesses have things happen and offer full refunds as a matter of standard operating procedure.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, you try to save face. And it's not like his only revenue stream. He's got his podcast. He's in WWE. He's got Prime Energy he has to focus on. So it seems really dumb. And just to get on Coffeezilla, you can see throughout the video, he talks about how they had essentially he had essentially promised to give the people their money back. And then Coffeezilla was like, oh, awesome. Like, so he trusted him. So like the hit piece was done. And then he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. I can give the money back. But instead, he's just suing Coffeezilla, which makes him look like a bad person, you know? I mean, come on.
I don't know exactly. I wonder if this is one of those, bury the guy in a lawsuit just to make him back down. Because Logan Paul and Prime Energy have the big lawyers. And Coffeezilla, as he did later in this video, he's telling people, look, I've got some legal fees. So if you want to subscribe to, what we do here or buy some merch, it's all going to our legal fees. We're going to have some more legal fees. So I wonder if this is just a tactic to bury the guy and shut him up.
Yeah.
I don't see how Logan Paul has a case here.
No.
Like, the guy's doing decent investigative reporting. It's with information that for the most part is either publicly available. And even if there was stuff that wasn't yet publicly available, there's no indication that what Coffeezilla is doing is not just standard, good investigative journalism, not the garbage journalism that you see today, which is just, regurgitating press releases from either government agencies or from corporate PR departments.
Yeah.
Coffeezilla is actually looking at the information and giving his take on it. And they agree with him or disagree with him. That's fair, decent reporting. That's what it used to be, or what it was supposed to be. And I say this as a guy who worked in professional news media for a while and then got out of it, and has been very critical of it. I don't see how what Coffeezilla is doing is suable. I mean, you can disagree with the guy, but he's doing what he's supposed to do in a supposedly free society.
Yeah, it's a great take because, from your background with journalism, that's interesting to hear, like, your opinion or your perspective there. And then, from my end, just with Logan Paul getting sued, that sounds very reasonable because the thing is, these vendors, they manufacture all types of drinks, right? Like Refresco probably does whatever drink it is. And if they had already independently set up all this prime with the expectation of a floor of you have to ship a certain amount of this, or you're hit with these fees, that is something that's very standard in supply chain. Because maybe I'll show you. I've been in supply chain for 15 years, like in logistics supply chain industry. If you promise a certain amount of cargo that like to a specific carrier and they're not getting it, then they hit you with additional fees because they've allocated so many resources to it. It's like a backup for them. And you can see this is not a mom and pop shop. They have 15,000 employees, Refresco. So they're probably huge.
Prime representatives didn't show up for a mandatory test run of the new machinery. By April, Prime hadn't placed any beverage orders and told Refresco the contract had been terminated.
Yeah.
You're not WWE releasing a wrestler. You can't just do that, I don't think. Adding that by that point, not one unit of Prime was bottled for the new production line. The new production line.
That's crazy that they're not even trying to meet them halfway and get some of them produced. But it just goes to show you the flash in the pan of Prime. It must be if they're not able to push the product, or at least they're overcommitting now. Before they had way too much demand and not nearly enough supply. Now it seems like they have way too much supply at the moment if they're not able to push it.
Handle on their own market. Mm-hmm. They don't have a handle on their own market. They projected they would be selling way more than they are.
To be fair, it's a very unique situation where it blew up so rapidly and then came down so quickly. But I see that all the time with lots of things, right? It could become like, instead of it being a staple like Gatorade, where like there's a certain amount of people like they get Gatorade that's been around forever. It's a new product, so you don't know how well it's going to do, and then you don't know how quickly it will fall off. So pretty interesting stuff there.
And maybe just not to let your remark before be buried there. What if this here, and this is by Logan Paul tweeted this out from his X account, See You in Court, Real LA Night. What if this is a really sneaky good ploy to bring up something else in search results when somebody puts in WWE lawsuit in their search bar.
I don't mind. He has no problem playing into his real life issues.
No.
Logan Paul.
Does he seem smart enough to have done what you suggested?
He
Like he
definitely
masterminded this thing to get some heat off of WWE so that when people Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo or whatever, Yahoo search, WWE lawsuit, maybe something else comes up instead of Vince McMahon.
I don't think he's that committed to the company
Right.
that he would do that. But I do think that he's so shameless that he's like perfect as a pro wrestler, because you really have to be shameless, right? Sometimes. And with him, he's just like, oh, I have all this controversy. Like, how can I get me more clicks and views? Oh, like, let's go ahead and do this with See You in Court LA Knight,
He's very much like Hulk Hogan, isn't he?
Yes, he gets it.
Ben Affleck may star as Hulk Hogan in a movie about the Gawker sex tape trial. This comes to us from the Daily Beast. It was on a few other outlets as well. Hulk Hogan, this comes to us from Parade, sends a serious warning to Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Hulk Hogan is no stranger to litigation, and now sources say he's willing to take legal action again, this time against Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. He won't hesitate to sue if he feels the film violates his privacy. Well, let's not bury the lead here. Would you like to see Ben Affleck play Hulk Hogan in a movie? Do you think he could do it?
It's pretty interesting that he wants to take on that role, but also not take on the role as Hulk Hogan and how great he is, but just to sort of really bury him. Like, I think
Barry Gawker in a way, right?
Yeah. I mean, it really depends how they portray it. Is Hulk going to be the victim? Or maybe if it's somewhere in the middle and it's a little bit more honest and it's a little bit questionable, because it is kind of questionable. Like, Gawker did steal the stuff, but he did say it. So I think there's some controversy involved there, right? Like, Gawker shouldn't have posted it because it's illegal. But then also, Hogan shouldn't have been in these situations. So
Affleck and Damon were jonesing to play Hogan and Peter Thiel, the billionaire tech investor who bankrolled the war on Gawker, respectively. Let's see here. Killing Gawker was penned by Charles Randolph. It was adapted from author Ryan Holiday's 2018 tome Conspiracy, Peter Thiel, Hulk Hogan, Gawker, and the Anatomy of Intrigue. So if they're staying true to the information that's already in this book, I don't know what Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea could have as a lawsuit. Now, if they uncover some new things and invade his privacy, then maybe, although it's kind of an uphill battle because Hulk Hogan's a public figure.
Mm-hmm.
But, just the fact that, Hulk Hogan is claiming lawsuit again, corporate needs you to find the difference between these two pictures. They're the same picture.
They're the same picture.
They're the same picture. Let's move on. Becky Lynch with kind of a cryptic Instagram post. It's been a hell of a career. What do you mean past tense there, Becky? We thought you were just taking some time off. That's kind of a weird way to phrase it. She was trying to thank people for watching her bio on A&E television. But it's been a hell of a career. Is Becky Lynch done?
I don't know what her next step is, because she just did go away for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Having a child that age and like both parents are on the road, it's got to be kind of rough, just to be honest with you. I know they're both trying their best to get through it, but it feels like one of them has to be on the road, one of them has to be home with the kid. So maybe she is alluding to, taking some time off or even semi-retiring, maybe not going full time. So, I think that probably makes the most sense, is that semi-retirement. And it seems like a pretty sweet gig where people come back for just part-time stuff, and they're big deals, and they have them in pay-per-views, and then they, go away.
What a great segue. Trish Stratus, who her last match in her current run was against Becky Lynch in a steel cage during a premium live event.
And it was a good match.
She's talking about possibly returning, and she is age 48. So even for the women wrestlers, if you stay in shape, this is a possibility. Maybe Becky Lynch takes a few years off and then comes back later. Cody isn't the only one with an unfinished story, said Stratus. I love being back as a special guest in Toronto at Money in the Bank, as she was. And who knows, if I can still go, I'll keep going. I'll never half-ass it. If fans are interested and it can influence another generation, then we'll see. She has some unfinished business with Zoe Stark. They mentioned losing to Becky Lynch in the steel cage at Payback. Let's see here. She wanted that cage match before she left. So in her return there, even in her second half of her 40s, she wanted to have a cage match, and she got it, and she performed well into it. She kind of worked her way into shape during her mini run there, and the cage match turned out pretty well. She also is getting a WWE Legends episode on A&E, but this is the environment we're in WWE, isn't it? You can come back as a legend, and Becky Lynch has that legend status with what her career has been.
Yeah.
Would you want to see, you've already told us that you're okay with Becky Lynch maybe doing that down the road. Would you want to see Trish Stratus come back, perhaps getting back with Zoe Stark or doing something else? Do you think there's something else for Trish Stratus to do in the modern WWE?
Yeah, for sure. And I say that because her cage match was good.
Yep.
I think there was another veteran they had around, Lita.
Yes.
And Lita just looked like cooked. Yeah. She just wasn't. I mean, it is what it is. She's older. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. She had a good career. What yada yada yada. But Lita was cooked. Trish had a good match with the cage match and is over. She's a pretty good heel, actually.
Yes.
And kind of funny, older lady heel. But I like when they incorporate older people into the wrestling, if they can still go and they wrestle within their means, right? So we saw Sting as an old man be way over in AEW and wrestle in tag team matches and not do too much besides the entrances and the nostalgia pop. If he did something like that with Trish, she actually seems a little bit more capable than Sting because he's 60. So yeah, she might as well lay it all out there. I'm cool with her having another run. How about you?
Agree with everything you said. If she can go in the ring, then yes, she's valuable as more than the person who just comes out in Toronto for a little speaking promo. I think she can. I think she could do it. This came to us from SI.com. So thank you very much for that. Speaking of women who are heels but are still perhaps in their prime, Britt Baker, who we covered being in some sort of suspension angle that we think was a work. She's set to appear in Cobra Kai. Do you watch Cobra Kai? It's a series on Netflix that plays off of the Karate Kid series of movies, especially the original Karate Kid with Daniel and Johnny there.
The first couple seasons were really fantastic, and I couldn't believe how good it was because I thought this is going to be so stupid. And then I watched it. I was like, oh, this is such a good idea. basically Johnny turns face, and he's like down on his luck, and the whole show is about how Daniel was kind of actually a piece of trash during their run, like during the movie, and Johnny was not really that bad of a guy, and like it kind of like paints that picture a little more. But the first couple seasons were pretty good, and now it's like kind of it's just like it's done, but they keep it going. Like every other show is like 3 seasons too long, you know? So they had some success in their earlier years, and I can see them continuing, trying to keep it going.
Per Mike Johnson of PW Insider, this comes to us transcribed from WrestleZone.com. Baker's role is described as a European fighter who would be competing in a team in an international karate tournament. Does Britt Baker do martial arts as part of her AEW wrestling thing? You're the AEW watcher much more than I am.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did she pull this off, or is she just kind of a standard pro wrestler?
As a European fighter, so unless she's not talking, then I don't know.
International karate tournament. Does she do karate stuff in AEW?
No, she doesn't do karate stuff either.
No, she grabs people's jaws like Mankind because she's a dentist.
Yeah, she's a dentist. She does. She's from Pittsburgh too. She's not from Europe, so I don't know. Maybe she's a good actor or actress. When you don't have, I should say this. Sometimes you have no idea that someone's going to be a good actor, and then they are. I think that was Batista actually has put on some pretty good performances that are like surprising, because you're like, he wasn't so great on the mic in WWE, and then like suddenly he's a good actor, you know? So if she dedicates herself to it and puts in the time, I imagine she could do it. She passed it. She went through dental school, which I'm not sure how hard or impressive that is, but she did it. But she's a dentist and a pro wrestler, so I mean, you know,
she's got something to fall back on, and now something to fall back on, perhaps acting, even if the other two don't work out. Do you remember when Cobra Kai star Martin Kove appeared on AEW programming like 2.5 years ago? Do you remember that at all?
Only because Martin Kove has been in a lot of other stuff besides Cobra Kai. So,
okay.
Yeah, he's a pretty good, I would say, pretty good actual actor. Like he does all kinds of crazy characters.
Okay, well, Britt Baker looks like she could be a martial arts star. I'm just not sure.
I'm mixing up Martin Kove. No, Martin Kove only did Cobra Kai.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very, very Karate Kid, Cobra Kai. I think that's the only thing he's done. Sorry.
Then he was the right guy to have on the program.
Yeah, right. He's
like, oh, that's the Cobra Kai guy. And now apparently Britt Baker will be a Cobra Kai actor as well. Good for her, branching out. You had sent this to me from eWrestling News. Backstage update on the Lucha Brothers jumping ship from AEW to WWE. How much did you see of these guys in AEW, and do you think they would be a good fit for WWE if this rumor is true?
They could be a great fit in WWE because they do lucha style better than anyone that I have seen in WWE. They're both, Penta is really good, the guy on the right. Penta's very good as kind of a bigger bruiser, and the guy on the left he does the best. He's like Rey Mysterio, Rey Fenix.
This is Rey Fenix here on the left side of our screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think they have done everything they can in AEW. They won the tag titles. They won the trios titles. They've been there for a while. I think it's a good fit for AEW to drop them because their roster's bloated. WWE to pick them up because they need good tag teams, and they don't really have a lot of good tag teams.
Okay.
And then also for them personally, they're a little bit more stale in AEW, and they've done everything they can. So I think it's time for them to go somewhere.
They've been very open, claiming they've already had talks with WWE. They had been part of AEW since the company began. So this would be long time, long time in an AEW sense, guys leaving the company. But hey, that happens.
No,
And that's why it's good to have more than one big company around, so that, when one company says, we don't know what to do with you, they get a little stale, or wrestlers just say, we think we've done all we can here. We want to kind of get a promotion by switching jobs here.
I think it'd be a win-win-win, because AEW has too many wrestlers right now, and I think they know they have too many wrestlers. So, like, if they were to
Okay.
just say, "Hey, we're gonna leave," it'd probably be a welcome change for AEW.
Very good. Do you see these guys starting off in NXT if they go to WWE, or could they be main roster right away?
They'd be main roster right away. They're one of the best tag teams in the world.
Okay, very good. Then I look forward to seeing them there. Size-wise, do you think they could match up with, say, the Bloodline, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, or would they be clearly too small to wrestle them?
No, Penta's big on the right. On the left,
Okay.
Ray Phoenix isn't too big, but he's very athletic. Like, he does the craziest lucha stuff that you can see. Like, he does the flippy stuff. He does the best flippy stuff.
Okay.
And even for me, a guy who doesn't really like flippy stuff, they're very good.
Okay, very good. Then there'll be something to look forward to. You can't miss them looking like that, right?
No, you can't. And you're
going to know who these guys are when they show up.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. The Lucha Brothers. We hinted at this before, or you did, talking about it must be tough for a wrestling family to have both parents on the road. Rebecca Quinn's husband, of course, is Seth Rollins. Becky Lynch's husband here is Seth Rollins. He's been written off of TV for a while. He's technically cleared to wrestle. This comes to us from Ringside News. But he's got so many nagging injuries that he's not up to his standards. So he's going to take some time and just be off camera. I was almost worried that I wonder if Seth's going to pack it in too, and Seth and Becky are just going to pack it in for a while. But it looks like Seth is intending to come back and wrestle. He just wants to heal up and be able to do, Seth Rollins stuff, rather than just be a special guest referee in a match with two other guys, or come out and talk and get beat up by Bronson Reed as he did on the past Monday Night Raw. What say you about Seth Rollins? He's the kind of guy who, after a while, he can't really hide if he has a real injury because of his style.
Yeah, right.
He was trying to work through that knee tear for a while, but it became pretty obvious that he was laboring. It may be also his chronic back problem as well. Kudos to him for being able to mask it.
Mm-hmm.
With his just overall high level of ability. But to be Seth Rollins at 100%, he's got to heal up. Is this a good move? Is this really good timing for him, where this is like he's not needed on the main roster to be an A-lister at the moment?
Yeah, I think it'd probably give him some time off would make sense. And then in addition to that, he's 38. And he's been wrestling the WWE for years and the indies for years before that. I can't imagine what his body's gone through. And I think at 38, 39, 40, you got to start to think about your future. And you also have to think about, how your style that he wrestles might have to change around, as he gets older, if he wants to keep doing it. You see it with Jericho. He kind of slows down, switches his style up, and he wrestled probably similar to what Seth does now. Yeah, so from my perspective, he's taken a ton of bumps. Like his I would say he's wrestled a lot of matches and taken a lot of bumps. Yep. So I think you should really reconsider how you wrestle, and then at what pacing he's going to wrestle, because he's been full-time for 15 years,
Steve Austin famously changed his style when he got older to become the ringmaster and Stone Cold in the WWE. It was no longer Hollywood blonde Steve Austin from the WCW days. Mm-hmm. And then even after he got his neck injury, he changed his style again. So guys can be over and work great matches, even if they change up how they do it and their move set and even their physique over the years and their movement. It's not unheard of that guys can still be excellent.
Yeah.
If they have that ability.
It's funny because AJ Styles has been fine. And he's been kind of wrestling the same style that Seth does. So some guys just are built different. And I don't know if Seth is banged up. It's probably because he's not built as differently as AJ Styles.
Well, speaking of guys who are built differently, Bobby Lashley commented on his status with the WWE. Apparently, he was seriously enough injured in a match in France. Live event against Santos Escobar on May 5th, where he needed emergency surgery. He says it was a minor thing, but he had to get it taken care of right away. They thought he was going to take 6 months off. He's been accelerating that process, but that explains why he's off TV. But he might not be able to return to WWE. And he's one of the few wrestlers who had a better relationship with Vince McMahon than he seems to have with Paul Levesque, also known as Triple H. We've spoken before about how Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, those are the old-time Vince McMahon guys. The larger-than-life, look like comic book superheroes with the legit MMA background. So if they got in there, one of our early Don't Bury the Leads was Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar at a pay-per-view. It may have even been the first WrestleMania we did. And we were saying, like, if this was the 80s or 90s with Vince McMahon totally in charge, these guys would main event every doggone pay-per-view.
Yeah, right.
Right? Bobby Lashley is a Vince McMahon type of physique and wrestler. And maybe he says he just hasn't been able to. I've tried to, but we haven't really worked together enough to get to know each other well. So he's one of those guys who maybe is in limbo with what has happened because he was such a good fit for the larger-than-life cartoonish era of WWE. What do you think about Bobby Lashley first having a legitimate injury, and that's why he's not been on TV? But now, so we've talked before about maybe he's leaving WWE when his contract runs up. What do you think about his chances of making a comeback? And is his situation a signal, and maybe Brock Lesnar's as well, that Brock Lesnar's has been kind of buried as well, that the Vince McMahon type of wrestler is not where WWE is concentrating anymore?
It's sort of weird because I think Lashley's pretty good, and he just hasn't found a spot or under this new regime, which is strange. And it might just because like he likes the NXT guys. They're just getting younger. So maybe he just doesn't have the same pull that he had with Vince when he was one of the veterans and I'm sure he and Vince were very close because, he was one of Vince's guys and, he's a huge bodybuilder. They probably worked out like crazy together. So, it's weird to see. But
the arm's getting back strong, but I needed this setback so the comeback could be so much greater. Almost a Seth Rollins thing. Like, it's time for me to take care of a few things so that I can wrestle at 100%. The only question is, more so with Bobby Lashley than with Seth Rollins, is will Bobby Lashley's comeback that could be so much greater occur with the WWE? We don't know.
He probably just wants
Go ahead.
He probably just wants to be out there, and they kind of didn't plan him to be out there, so he's probably pissed that he can't get out there.
Yeah, a much longer interview here occurred. It's posted to YouTube if you want to go find it. It's with, let's see here, the Laboratory podcast, the Laboratory with Plaz. So if you do want to go find this full hour-long plus interview there, go ahead and find them on YouTube. good news there if Bobby Lashley is recovering from his injury. Let's do a little more good news. Travis Kelce's friend Baron Corbin praises rare Taylor Swift. She can hang with the boys. This comes to us from Us Magazine. Apparently, Taylor Swift is able to kind of just be a regular person with Travis Kelce's crew. Here's what I'm wondering about. Did you have any idea that Baron Corbin was part of Travis Kelce's crew? Travis Kelce's a buddy of mine, so he invited us out to the game. Hey, is Taylor going to be there? Assumed she wouldn't be, but then she was. And, she's so nice, so down to earth. If you had lived under a rock and had no idea who Taylor Swift was, you would think she's just an awesome person. Did you know that Baron Corbin was friends with Travis Kelce?
I did not realize
this. This guy is popping up all over the place.
I wonder if they're friends because they played football together.
Perhaps.
Because I know he was in the league for a little bit, Baron Corbin. He's a lot older than... He's 39. He's a lot older than...
He's 39. Travis is 34. So they're not huge age difference.
Yeah, I don't know how they would know each other.
Wow.
Outside of I don't know. Outside of it, they're both... Well, Travis is probably an A-list celebrity now, and I'd say Baron Corbin is somewhat of a D-list celebrity. I don't know, like NXT, a pro wrestler that's not famous.
Baron Corbin as a celebrity is probably way down the list.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think...
As a wrestler, he's been pretty good, and his return to the main roster recently has been fun.
Like, we know who Baron Corbin is, but
yes.
My mother wouldn't know who Baron Corbin is, you know? That'd be a big stretch. So
without Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, there's no way US Magazine runs an article about Baron Corbin.
Right. And is Baron Corbin doing a little name dropping here? Oh, I was just hanging out with Travis. And
you know Taylor was there too.
Yeah.
Hey, if that's what it takes to get into Us Magazine there, that's what it takes. Randy Orton threw out the first pitch at a Cardinals game on August 7th. Let's wait for this to replay here from MLB. Please don't give us a strike. It's your thing. We're promoting you. Randy Orton, that wasn't much of a first pitch. Is it that he's just got too much bulk there to really get loose and fire one away?
Oh, he does have a really awkward delivery. We mentioned before that his comeback run here, he's bigger than he's ever been, very bulky, very muscular, not only in the thighs, but the chest area, the deltoids. This is not the younger Randy Orton who moved a lot quicker around the ring. Randy Orton, he just wasn't going to be able to do much more than that semi-shot put there. Yeah, he's got the messed up shoulders, right? So it's probably
too.
And then I think, I'm looking at the form. He leads with his right hand as he's throwing, right foot as he's throwing with the right hand. I think it's supposed to be the opposite way. I think you're supposed to be leading with your left and then pushing off with your right and then pitching.
He doesn't step much into that throw.
Actually, he doesn't step too much into it, but he gets it across the plate. I mean, sometimes it could be a real nightmare.
I was just going to say, he didn't bounce it, and the catcher didn't have to take an actual step to go catch the ball. He just had to come out of the crouch, which, that's standard.
Mm-hmm.
This guy probably doesn't want to be in the crouch anyway. So he was able to catch it without moving. Orton did not bounce it. And you wonder what he said to make the catcher laugh here. He probably said, "Hey, I didn't bounce it."
Right.
So it didn't bounce it, didn't make the guy run to catch it. So that's a good first pitch. That's a good throw. And congratulations, Randy Orton. I did not know he was a baseball fan, but he's out there with the St. Louis Cardinals. This is fun stuff.
And you could see the way he kind of ducks his head afterwards. and like, all right,
All right, yeah.
all right, I did the thing I'm not very good at, whatever, you know. But you know, like all good pro wrestlers, you can't have a high level of shame. You're just like, okay.
He's out there. It's part of the work, right? It's part of the business.
Exactly.
You go out there, you do the best you can, you clap your hands. This is clearly a babyface moment for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not out there as a heel. I would imagine the St. Louis Cardinals crowd is not booing him. So this is definitely a babyface doing a babyface thing. Fun for him, fun for the WWE. We end cheap heat with a cheap pop.
This is a cheap pop.
It's cheap. It's heat or it's pop. It's cheap heat, John. That's what I got. Was there anything you wanted to talk about that did not make our video and audio video rundown here?
It's cheap heat. That's it, baby.